Hello everyone and welcome to the Arbor Farm. Thank you for joining us for today's episode where I want to share with you how to grow Forsythia. Let's get started. Before I get into our step-by-step method and the care instructions for how to grow Forsythia, let's take a step back first of all and talk about what is Forsythia, or what are Forsythia. We love Forsythia. If you are not familiar, Forsythia is a beautiful bush that blooms little tiny yellow flowers in very early spring or late winter. And whenever we see it, we feel like, oh, winter is finally about over. It's gorgeous, covered in blooms, the full length of the stems typically. And then after it flowers, it turns into green leaves. It grows green leaves and is just a beautiful green shrub throughout the rest of summertime. So we love Forsythia and the variety of uses. And so let's get into how to grow Forsythia. A Forsythia is a shrub that's been around for years. It's a very traditional shrub, and we love to see it throughout our neighborhood and throughout our community. In March and April, here in Zone 6, it's just gorgeous. And it has a variety of uses. It can be used for our spring cut bouquets. We love putting it with daffodils or tulips or other things, and just beautiful for a decoration. We also love forcing it in late winter, so you can see the buds just coming on the branches, but it's still too cold for those to pop open. And so to force it, we love to cut those branches. And I shared in a reel a few weeks ago, a neighbor gave me some of his when he was trimming his bush, and we just had fun putting them in a vase of water and watching them bloom, even though there was still snow outside. So you can do that too. If you're thinking about starting to grow Forsythia, you might go to your local nursery or big box store to pick some up, and the best time to grow them or to plant them is in early spring or fall. And that's just to avoid the exhausting heat of summertime and the stress that poses on plants. But early spring or fall is a great time to plant any shrub. And so a variety of places that you can find those and pick them up and get them planted. Whenever you're planting shrubs, it's good to dig a hole that's twice the size. So here I have a pot with me, and if you just dig it so that the soil is nice and loose around there, about twice as big as the pot, and then cover it the same amount of dirt that it was when it was planted in that pot. So you don't want to bury it too deep. You don't want to leave root exposed and bury it too shallow. Just bury it the same height of dirt that it was in the pot. Another question that you might have is, where should you plant Forsythia? And whenever you buy something from a nursery or a store, they usually have care instructions. And so Forsythia like full sun, generally speaking. The varieties that we're familiar with, they like full sun. And so be sure to give them plenty of sunshine. And as far as water is concerned, you should water them once a week, more often even, until their roots get established. And so once they begin to take hold and that shrub begins to grow, you should be good to back off to once a week. Another question I wanted to answer is, where do Forsythia grow? So again, we're Zone 6. We are Southern Michigan, and Forsythia grow like crazy in our area, and they are hardy to a negative 30 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's pretty good. They get nice and hardy in the wintertime when they go dormant, and they should last really well through some good cold weather and come back for you the next season and the next season to enjoy over and over again. So what are some uses for Forsythia? I already mentioned that as flower farmers, we like to use them in our cut flower bouquets, and so you can do that. They add some interest, some spike, and some color with their beautiful yellow color. And you can also use them just to enjoy in your landscape. And so planting them around your property is a fun way to enjoy them in the landscape and their beauty that they bring. So in a video that talks about how to grow Forsythia, I can't help but mention the propagation of new bushes. Can I grow a new bush? Is that legal? So the traditional Forsythia variety, it's called Forsythia X Intermedia, and that variety is free to patent. It's been around for ages, decades. And so it is no longer under patent. It is free to propagate. You can check that in a Google patent search, and you'll know that a patent expires after 20 years, and so it is no longer under patent. So it's free to propagate. That means that I can take my existing plants and I can create new plants with them, and I'm going to tell you how you can do that. There are 2 times during the year. All right, the first time during the year is late winter. So when the plant is still dormant, if you take cuttings of, that are 6 inches, a foot long, whatever in length, and you put those into rooting powder, and then you put them into moist soil and keep them watered, you very likely will get roots from them. As the temperature's warm, likely first they will flower, and then they'll lose those buds, and then eventually roots will form. So that is a fun thing to try to create new plants from your existing Forsythia and multiply your stock for free. The second time during the season that you might like to create new or grow new Forsythia bushes is in early summer. And here in Zone 6, this is about June, that the new growth forms on our shrubs, on our bushes, and it becomes long and green in color and flexible. And so when you touch the end, the tip, it's very flexible, and you'll know that you can usually see where the green on the wood starts, and you can cut those, and then you can put them under mist, and you can create a new plant. And I brought with me today some of the ones that we did last summer. You can see that there are several tiny baby plants in here, and I will gonna pull one out so that you can see the roots, but this guy has some roots that are already established. And so these were in our mist last summer, and they grew roots, and we overwintered them outside under frost protection, and they are just coming out of dormancy. Their leaves are opening, and it's fun to see them begin to grow again. So that's another way that you can grow Forsythia. And so before we end this little video with our tips for how to grow Forsythia, we always like to give our personal opinion. Do we like Forsythia? And absolutely, they are easy to grow, easy to maintain. If they get too long and lengthy and sprawling, you can just easily cut them, trim them back in the fall or the very early spring before they get growing, and you'll have a fresh new bush. So low maintenance, but high beauty, and we love Forsythia. Thank you for joining us for today's episode. Our goal is to always create content that's helpful for you. And if you found today's content helpful, we'd like to ask you to click the like button and subscribe to our channel so that you can receive notifications as to when the next content is available. And as always, if you have questions or comments, please feel free to drop those below. We read every single one and we would be happy to engage with you. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day.